Greetings from Amera Astronomy Center and Jordan Planetarium at the University of Maine. My name is Sean Lotch, I'm the Planetarium Director, and I look forward to sharing some of the beauty and wonder of our universe with you. This is Virtual Sky Tour number 4 for the week of May 1st through 7th of 2020. Let's go ahead and begin. I've set up stellarium for 8:45 p.m. tonight, which is about a full hour after the sun sets, and once it's dark enough to see stars and a variety of other objects in your nighttime sky. We're going to begin by bringing our pointer into view here and starting off with the moon. The moon is our nearest neighbor in space, and today, May 1st, it is one day past first quarter phase of the moon. Over the next week, you're going to see the moon continue to wax and its illumination increase all the way until full moon on May 7th, which is Thursday. Now, over that time, you're going to notice the dark areas of the moon, what we call Maria, and that's a word that means oceans or seas. Today we know it's ancient lava flows on the surface of the moon, which have solidified, become more visible. People a long time ago often would use those dark areas to make some imaginary pictures. Some people saw a man in the moon, others a woman. Some saw a turtle or even a rabbit. Check it out and see what you can come up with. It's kind of the original Rorschach test, if you will. Well, if you have binoculars or a telescope, the moon is a wonderful target, as you can see a variety of mountains, valleys, and craters on its surface. In addition to the bright moon, we also have the planet Venus, which is the third brightest thing we see in our sky after the sun or moon. It's exceptionally bright and is visible for a full 2.5 hours or so after the sun goes down. Now, you'll notice Venus even before it gets completely dark because it is such a bright object. If you could look at Venus with a telescope, you would notice it goes through phases like our moon as well. Planets don't shine by their own light, instead they reflect light from the sun, and Venus currently is in a crescent phase. Well, those two objects are the brightest things you're going to see in tonight's evening sky. However, we do want to check out some of the other things, the stars. And so let's start off by looking at some of the constellations and stars from this season. Currently, we are in the season of spring, so we're going to have to shift our view of the sky a little bit to get a good view of those springtime constellations. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of look and move our sky downward a little ways so that you can see the area that the moon is in. And we're facing the direction south right now. So south would sort of be basically at the bottom of our screen. And if we bring our pointer back in, south would be right about here right now. And where the moon is, you're sort of looking midway up in the sky. You're going to notice the moon is in one of the brightest of the springtime constellations. This group is known as Leo the Lion. The bright star Regulus marks his heart. A backwards question mark is the head and mane of that lion. A rectangle through here marks its body, and Denobula its tail. Now, Leo is known as a majestic lion in our nighttime sky. If we were to highlight that group, and we can actually draw in its constellation, there you see it. It looks to me more like a mouse with a curly-Q tail, but some folks, again, do imagine it as a majestic lion there. And if we use some imagination, we could draw it in as that lion there in the nighttime sky. Well, let's take those constellation lines off for a moment. And what we want to do now is take a look at some of the other constellations in that area of the sky as well. I'm going to move our view of the sky over a little bit here and sort of shift down a bit. There we go. And going to stop right around here where we sort of have that direction. So we're sort of looking over towards the east and southeast area of our sky right now. And with our pointer back again, we can notice a bright sort of orangish star over here, which is called Arcturus. Arcturus is in the constellation of Boötes, the herdsman or the bear chaser. To me, it looks a lot like an ice cream cone right up here with a scoop of ice cream. And there's a little smiley face right over here, which is very happy that ice cream is returning, you might say. Well, Boötes is a herdsman, and sometimes he's called the bear chaser because he is chasing Ursa Major, which we'll take a look at in just a bit. Also, you'll notice a bright star down here in this area of the sky, which is the star Spica. And Spica is in the constellation of Virgo. Virgo sort of looks like a letter Y-shaped group of stars up through here. and she's wearing a long flowing gown. Spica represents a grain of wheat that she's holding in her hand, and farmers a long time ago used the star Spica to know when to plant and harvest their crops. When Spica would rise with the setting sun, roughly the end of April, beginning of May, it was time to plant. And when Spica would set with the sun, towards the end of September, early October, it was time for the harvest. And that's why Virgo became known as the goddess or maiden of fertility. Now, we can bring her constellation up there, and if we draw her in, there you see her as that maiden holding that grain of wheat there in her hand. And you also notice, again, Boötes the herdsman as that shepherd there carrying a sickle and a spear in your nighttime sky. Well, let's go ahead and take those constellation lines off. And I also want to do one other thing. I want to sort of zoom out our view a bit here. And I'm doing so because I wanted to get the Big Dipper, or part of Ursa Major, into view here in our sky. So if we bring our constellation pointer back into view, and there you see the moon. Here we see, again, Arcturus and Spica. If you find the Big Dipper, which is very prevalent here, you can use it to help you locate these spring constellations. So the Big Dipper sort of looks like a pot or pan right through here. And if you use the handle of the dipper, you can make an arc to the bright star Arcturus, and that is in Boötes, that herdsman we just looked at, or that ice cream cone. And then you can spike down to Spica in the constellation of Virgo, which we looked at. So the Big Dipper really is helpful in finding those spring constellations. Again, arc to Arcturus and spike to Spica using that Big Dipper. Well, the Big Dipper is also part of Ursa Major, the Great Bear, as we often call it. And if we shift our sky here a little bit, get a little bit better view of that full group of stars there. The Great Bear, of course, is made up of the Big Dipper, which is sort of the body and tail of the bear, but then there are 3 stars out in front that mark its head. Here are its front legs all the way down to the front paws there, and its hind legs curl around like this. And these 3 stars make the handle of the bear, or again, the tail of the bear, I should say, the handle of the Big Dipper. Well, if we draw in that group of stars, there you see the Big Dipper and Ursa Major, that Great Bear. Lots of imagination to see a bear there. Now, you can also use the constellation, of course, of that Great Bear, or the Big Dipper portion of it, to draw a line out the open end to find the North Star here, and take a look at the Little Dipper in your night sky as well. The Little Dipper, much fainter, it's supposed to be a little bear, but there's really aren't any additional stars helping you find a bear there, so it uses a lot of imagination to make a bear there in that area of the sky. Well, I'm going to go ahead and turn off those constellation lines and figures once again. And one of the nice things about using Stellarium is we can really get a good view of our sky in a variety of ways. And the last thing I want to do is actually sort of zoom in on our moon a bit here. And as we do so, you're going to see some of those light and dark areas. Again, those Mari, and you might even notice a little bit of the rabbit ears there. I often say it looks a bit like a rabbit to me, but here are sort of the ears of the rabbit, the head of the rabbit. You're going to have to wait a few days until you can see the rabbit's body down below there. But again, the moon, you can take a close-up look with binoculars or a telescope and really get a wonderful view of some of those craters. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm sort of giving you a binocular view of the moon. You can see a variety of craters on its surface. And again, those dark areas, Maria, as we often call them, ancient lava flows on the surface of the moon. Well, this has been a quick tour of your sky for the week of May 1st through 7th of 2020. I do hope that the skies are clear for you, that you get outside and look up and enjoy the beauty and wonder of our universe. Thanks for joining us here at Amira Astronomy Center. We look forward to seeing you at the planetarium again in the near future. Do stay safe and healthy. Have a wonderful week.